Welcome to the Big Four Accounting Firms podcast, brought to you by big4accountingfirms.com. In today's episode, I wanted to discuss Tim Ryan deciding that he's going to retire. Before I get started, it's been a while since I've been on, just moved things around, so I apologize if it sounds a little bit weird, still working out the audio. But I wanted to talk about this Tim Ryan news because to me it's big news. We've had a lot of news of the Big Four accounting firms over the past year with regards to E&Y deciding to not pursue their sale of the consulting business, and then their CEO, or they've had multiple CEOs decide to step away. They had the US and then now the global, who is announcing he's going to retire or whatever. But now we have Tim Ryan announced at PwC announcing he's going to retire. So that's two global CEOs that have of Big Four accounting firms deciding they're going to step away. And the big news too with Tim Ryan is that he was in line to become the global CEO of PwC, which is pretty big deal to step away. And at this stage of his career, you don't have that much left, right? Like he was going to replace Bob Moritz was the global CEO of PwC, and he decided to do multiple tenures as the global chairman of PwC. He didn't have to. And that's the thing with Tim Ryan. Like, let's say he wanted to be the global chair. He could have done it for 4 years and then been done. Or he could have done it even a couple and been done. And he decided not to do that. And it's really confusing as to why he's stepping away. He said he needs to take a pause or something, but that doesn't make sense to me. Especially like at this stage in your career, because you've already gone through the toughest stages of your career, of making partner, of fighting everybody to become the US CEO, and there was a battle for that as well. So something's happened. I think it could be the scandal in Australia where it could be just partners around the firm calling him out. But what's also amazing about Tim Ryan, and the reason I wanted to address this I guess for my purposes, was because Tim Ryan was the most gung-ho CEO, the most bought into just fake causes. I don't know about fake causes, but it's just like these surface level arguments, these surface level causes. Like, he was willing to buy into all of them. Like, everything that was a headline in the news, he always had like a town hall to address it. Even small things, he just wanted to address it, and he would get the youngest associates. He was just like gung-ho, not only about what the news was saying, but also just brainwashing people in the firm into, the corporate citizen thing. He was less focused on accounting, in my perspective, and more focused on ESG things. And he did this global CEO, like getting signatures for, I don't even remember what it was, but he was like, he created the initiative himself. Like, everything he did, positioned himself, was political. Like, he was just fake. He had this fake smile, and he would have puff pieces written about him all over the place. Like, you can tell he had a PR firm working for him. And then just to step out of the race right now. I mean, maybe he switched from a PR firm to a therapist, and the therapist told him, like, you should probably hang it up. But the crazy thing is too, I think he has a lot of kids. And I think by now, most of them are of older age. So it's like, or not older age, but they'll be going to college soon. So it's like, you'd think if you're going to step away and take a pause, you do it when your kids are young, but he didn't do it. That's why it's really interesting to me that he decides to step out of everything right now. I think, in my personal perspective, is that he wasn't authentic at all, and it was pretty obvious. And I think the person he really was different than the person he pretended to be in the media. But I think that's common for partners and these CEOs. But it's just like, I think that took a toll on him, from who he was to what he became. And he just probably didn't know who he was at this point. Probably didn't believe in a lot of stuff that he was saying. And he's one of the, it's just crazy though, that you were that committed to this fake personality and then you just give up. Like because I guess the point I'm trying to make is if he really believed in all of these ESG things that he was focused on, if he really believed in those, you wouldn't give up, because those are societal changes, right? You think that all these things are going to change the world. You think that we're in a constant crisis of, there's various societal forces that are societal, climate, everything, that you need to push companies to change. And that's why he was getting these signatures. If you really believe in all that, then I don't think you'd stop pushing. But I don't think he believed in it. I think he did that because he was positioning for a global CEO. And I think he thought he was checking the boxes and he just wants to step out. But the lesson that we could take away from here is not just to make fun of Tim Ryan and because he was fake, but it's that you need to, the career in the Big Four takes a toll on you. And most people don't make it as far as Tim Ryan. Tim Ryan has an exceptional career. He's made more money than he knows what to do with, obviously, and that's why he's stepping away, because he's made enough money where he can do that. It's, you have to make your career sustainable. And there's a lot of people that position themselves, especially early on in the Big Four, right? You position yourself as this warrior, as this political warrior, and you get worn out. And some people, they never get worn out, but those people are mainly sociopaths. But your career is a marathon. It's going to be 40 years, most likely. And you can't work 24 hours a day for 40 years. You can't be fake for 24 hours a day for 40 years. You have to maintain a good pace. And you have to figure out whether you're going to work in the Big Four or not. And if you're going to work in the Big Four, there's a lot of opportunities to move up. There's a lot of opportunities to move horizontally to different groups. And you have to figure out what works for you. You can't just burn yourself out. A lot of people burn themselves out. A lot of people quit too early, or they take industry jobs too early that are terrible industry jobs. They just quit in general. They do something else that they don't like. But there's ways to take advantage of the Big Four accounting firms. There's ways to pace yourself. There's time to take breaks. You have to be in charge of your own career. And when you go work for the Big Four, they'll tell you that themselves, because they if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. If you want to work 12 hours a day every day, they'll give you that. And then, they also, make sure that they also just, the other thing to remember about the Big Four is that it's a 1 year performance cycle. So you can outperform everybody by miles and miles every year, but you got to remember, you only get a raise once a year, and you only get a promotion potentially once a year. But obviously, it's going to take more than 1 year to get a promotion. So there's no need to try and hit a grand slam every day of the week. You have to pace yourself. You have to work your hardest when it really counts. You obviously want to work harder and do your best closer to performance times. Like when you're reaching out for performance feedback, you want to make sure the month or 2 months before that is your best time. The times right after for performance feedback, you could take your foot off the pedal. But another great time to do a really good job is deadlines. You meet deadlines, you meet client expectations, you're going to do great. But also there's the business side of the Big Four accounting firms. You have to make sure you're meeting your revenue goals, making sure that your partners and managers are meeting their revenue goals, getting bills out, doing write-offs, all that stuff is another way to pace yourself. You have to figure out the metrics that matter in your firm and your group and meet those. And you have to figure out the times that when you can take a break, when you can take your foot off the gas pedal, so to speak. And that's the way that you can pace yourself and have a great career all the way through. And that's a lesson that we can learn from Tim Ryan and these other CEOs. just taking a step away. They reached the top. They reached the top of the Big Four, and they thought that they couldn't stop going forward. The thing with Carmine DeCibio and Tim Ryan is they always thought there was going to be something next. Carmine DeCibio is like, all right, I've done everything. Let me try and split this firm up. Didn't work. And then he's like, all right, forget it. Tim Ryan's like, let me do this. The chairman was his next thing. And he's like, maybe I don't want that. And he stepped away. You don't want to get to that point. You want to make sure that you have a steady career. But you also want to make sure you have a goal like these guys. Maybe that was their goal. Maybe I try and do this, and if it becomes too hard, I step away. But make sure you have a goal and also limits that you want to reach, limits of where you'll let people bother you, limits of maybe if I reach a certain level and there's too much political angst against me, that I'll step away. And I think that's potentially what happened to these guys. And you might want to start thinking about that now, especially if you're progressing in your career. But I just wanted to speak on that. Hopefully I'll be doing these a little bit more frequently, but we'll see. Thanks for listening.